For genetic disorders. You're welcome, Minister. I now call on Senator Norris to move the motion, and you have 12 minutes.
Thank you very much, Lasky. This is one of the most important debates that I've taken part in the last 32 years in which I've been a member of the Senate. As a result of our debate this evening, we may in fact operate to save the lives of up to 50 children, 50 newborn children. I'm greatly honoured, and we are greatly honoured, to be in the presence of the family of Les Martin, his wife Linda, his daughter Holly, and his two children, Carl and Kieran. They're a very remarkable family. If you look at the picture on the front of the briefing document they gave us, they could be an advertisement for a health farm. But unfortunately, they're an advertisement for an ill health farm because of the situation regarding their two children. I raised this before. I raised this in February because I was contacted by Mr. Martin. The two children, Carl and Kieran, suffer from metachromatic leukodystrophy, which is a very rare disease. But it can be addressed. If children are diagnosed early enough, they can go through life without any serious disadvantage. And this is a situation that we're addressing. Carl, who was 2.5 when he was diagnosed, that was far too late. Unfortunately, there is virtually no hope for Carl. But there is this hope, that by pushing this measure, we can actually ensure that no further children are left to die. This will be a lasting testimony to the brief life of Carl Martin. His other child, Kieran, was taken to Italy for treatment. And I should have said I particularly welcome and appreciate the Minister's presence here tonight, because I understand that he's not well at all, but he has come here to be with us from his sickbed, and I think that is extremely important, and it's an indication of how seriously the Department of Health are taking this matter. And I know that he has met with the Martin family. They're interested in having a law passed. A law was passed in Italy at the instigation of Senator Paula Taverna. And this has radically changed the situation in Italy for these children. Now, I have actually taken steps to start preparing such a law, and I was speaking with Minister Finian McGrath, and he said that his department will be happy to cooperate with me. So I do hope by the autumn to have such a law prepared, and I believe that with the cooperation of the government, it will be passed. As I've said, Les Martin, a wonderful, wonderful, engaging family with their 3 children. There is a need for a national screening programme to be expanded and laws to protect children from these very difficult situations. At the moment, 8 rare diseases are screened for in Ireland. In the United States, it's 35. In Hungary, it's 26. Italy went from 4 to 40 within the space of 1 year. We can do the same, and I think we must do the same in order to help these children. The cost is €50 per adult for the screening process, which operates on a heel prick basis. A tiny sample of blood is taken from the heel of a child, and it was done between 48 and 72 after birth, or before the baby is home from the birth centre. A small blood sample is taken from the baby's heel and then blotted and dried on filtered paper. It's a dried blood spot. The sample previously used to screen phenylketonuria, congenital hypothyroidism and cystic fibrosis, compulsory regional screening, is now used to screen 40 disorders. No further samples are then needed. This is what we need to do here. It's a perfectly simple thing, and it costs only €50. Think, Minister, I know you do, you understand the situation. Think of the millions that will be spent in treating these children as they proceed on their tragic journey. It's unnecessary. And it is a really tragic situation for a beautiful family like this to have to deal with such children. The cost would be $3.5 million in 1 year, and it would save hundreds of millions in treatment costs. There are 62,000 children born in this country every year. 1 in 1,250 will have a rare disease. The HSE actually say that it is possible to implement this immediately, so let's do it. And I think we should also consider the possibility of having a rare disease day in Ireland to let people know. Without Les Martin and his family, none of us would know this. I mean, it is his campaign that has alerted us to this. And the HSEs seem to be on board. They produced a rare disease plan, 2014 to 18. So far, only 2 of the 48 items have been actioned. And I'd just like to quote from page 26 of their report. The weaknesses of the current national newborn screening programme. 1. Newborn screening is an essential public health responsibility not currently mandated by law and lacking the appropriate legislative framework in Ireland. Well, I'm committing myself here this evening to introduce such a law in cooperation with the government. There is no health economics evaluation of newborn screening. There's a lack of patients' advocacy groups, in particular for newborns, and a lack of public understanding of the merits and public health consequences of appropriate newborn screening for the Irish population. Difficult economic conditions and a health system under reform and reorganisation present considerable challenges to the newborn screening problem. Well, we're kind of out of the woods with regard to the financial collapse. I know we still have a debt of 205 billion, which is pretty shocking, but there's a main body of 3,000 families living at home with children with rare diseases, and they're acting as carers for these unfortunate children. Mr. Martin has told me that he's spoken at length with the 4 key people in the HSE and the Department of Health running the screening programme, and they agree with what he's suggesting. That an expanded screening is the correct thing, but they can't say so publicly because the HSE operates on a collective decision mechanism, and so they have to have a collective front. But the answer is to screen for everything. That decision will be made by the National Screening Board. That will be in place soon, and I very much welcome that. And I welcome the Minister's positive attitude in these matters. But I have a concern, and I have a concern that it will take the Board ages to act on by going to look into every single individual condition. That will take forever. So what we need is the law, and let the law introduce the thing, and let everything else follow in after that. Now, Mr. Martin used an analogy, an interesting analogy, the construction of the M50, allowing for development of the industrial area and towns adjoining it in the subsequent years. Because people are concerned, well, you know, we have this, but then what happens when other things? Let's put a catch-all phrase in to the bill in order to say, and also any further rare diseases for which treatment is available. So we have a catch-all phrase there. And I'd like to say also, concerns have been expressed to me about privacy, because of course there's been this business of the selling on of genetic information and so on and so forth. We will have a privacy clause in this legislation that should cure this situation. There are also side benefits to this, because the detection of 50 new patients with rare conditions offers a wonderful opportunity to examine, to study scientifically and medically these conditions. So there's a possibility of a terrific research investment. Now, there have been questions raised in the other House. On Wednesday the 19th of June there was a Fianna Fáil motion on maternity care, and that included a Sinn Féin, and I pay tribute to Sinn Féin on this, a Sinn Féin amendment which read, we must guarantee the right of every child born in Ireland to be screened for all diseases for which there is a viable treatment. This was voted on the Dáil on Thursday the 20th of June. That's a wonderful advance. But we need a bit of action on it. It's not enough just to have a vote. We have to see a bit of action to go along with the vote. The law will ensure that the screening programme must proactively look outward every 2 years to revise the list of conditions screened for protecting it into the future and consign into the past the practice of grieving parents. And we have 2 grieving parents here this evening with us, asking for their kid's disease to be included so it may save the next child. Now, I know it's wrong to involve the President of Ireland, Michael D. Higgins, in these matters, and I don't intend to do so, but I will say this, there has been communication, and President Higgins has indicated that he sees this as a human rights matter. That's all I'll say on the question. He's not saying we must introduce law, he's saying this is a human rights matter. And I think, once again, Michael D is 100% right. We had the Eighth Amendment passed, and I was in favour of it. Abortion is a very difficult situation to address, and you, Minister, addressed it very honestly and very openly, as did the Leader of the House, Jerry Butterworth. He was absolutely excellent in chairing that committee. But we were able to open 10 abortion clinics in 1 year. I mean, why can't we do the same to save lives? You know, I think the saving of life is more important than creating abortion facilities. We spend so much time convincing ourselves of abortion. Why not do something for the babies that continue to live? The agency might argue that we can't just screen for everything if you don't have the facilities to care for them, but that logic is flawed. The patients are going to exist anyway, and they're going to come into existence, and they will die. We have this €50 child screening, so there's no excuse whatever to delay this. So I'm asking the Minister, and once again I'd like to say I'm extremely grateful to him coming from his sickbed, coming here to address us this evening. It's a token of the interest that he takes in it, and as I've said, he has met with the Martin family already, and I believe the Senate here will do something extremely important and historic. And can I say, I've met the parents, I've met the children, and they are the most delightful children that you could possibly meet. And I think it's very important. Cathal has very little chance, but he will leave behind a lasting memorial in the lives of the up to 50 children that will be saved because of his tragic circumstances. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I believe now, Senator Boyhan, you want to briefly second, and then I'll let in the Minister.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. And first I'd like to thank David Norris for using his private member's business here to raise this really, really important issue. And I would also like to welcome the Martin family here and their children, and I'd particularly like to welcome Minister Harris here and note the importance that he's given it by his presence. In essence, this motion seeks to increase the heel prick test for newborn babies at birth from 8 to 40, thereby identifying potential illnesses which can possibly be cured or curtailed if diagnosed at an early stage. The campaign, as Senator Norris said, has been pursued by the Martin family on behalf of their son and others, but particularly as Cathal, who was terminally ill with MLD. I understand, Minister Harris, as the Senator has said, that you have met the family and that you are sympathetic and generally in support of an increase in the level of testing. And hopefully, Minister, you will tell the House today that you will not oppose this motion. The importance of this legislation is very important, and as Senator Norris said, in Italy, every citizen has the right to be screened for all conditions at birth for which there is a viable treatment. It is my hope, therefore, that we can apply this in the Irish context, and I look forward to hearing of your response. And as I say, I formally second Senator Norris's motion.
Sure, Minister.